The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRCMedia, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
This week on FRCmedia News, a date has been set for the launch of SouthCoast Rail from Fall River and New Bedford. A Fall River Catholic school will close at the end of the school year, and it's time for residents to complete the annual municipal census. All this and more coming up. It's Thursday, February 13th, 2025. This is FRCmedia News. I'm Keith Tebow. At a public meeting in Freetown this week, the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, or MBTA, General Manager and CEO Philip Eng officially announced that service to Fall River and New Bedford via SouthCoast Rail will likely begin on March 24th.
All of the testing is complete. The qualification's ongoing, but we're on schedule to finish all the qualifications. All the equipment, the bi-level coaches, the locomotives, all of that is ready. All the submissions to FRA has been made. We're very confident that we've done everything that we're supposed to do and that all the testing, including what the team talked about, revenue service demonstration, that is to show that we are running this service per the schedule on a regular, consistent basis to demonstrate that we can. We're very confident about March 24th. And yes, there were a few hiccups along the way, but at the same time, it's really just that continued dedication to reset and to just keep moving forward. The fact that we were able to get through all this testing in a shorter time frame than anticipated, I think there's a lot of the preliminary work that went into the new schedule that we set. I think it's exciting because it just demonstrates to the public that mass transportation is viable, and we want to prove that it's not only going to be running, but we're going to be running sufficient train service to hopefully get you out of your cars, make mass transportation a preferred choice of travel. It's a great way to go. You could just sit back, let us do the driving.
Officials say a detailed schedule of service will be available in early March.
The original project made commitments to operate service between East Taunton and South Station, 26 trips per day. We were able to maximize that up to 32 trips per day with connections all the way to Boston. Fall River will see was committed to see 13 trips. We're able to operate 15 trips between Boston and Fall River. New Bedford, again, 13 commitments. We ended up with 17 trips between Boston and New Bedford. In weekend service, there were originally no commitments. But the scenario I just gave you, imagine a weekend at Wachusett skiing or come into Boston, there was no service originally, and we're able to operate 26 trips on weekends to bring folks to and from.
The first weekday train leaving Fall River will likely be between 4:30 and 5 a.m., with the last train leaving Boston just before midnight. Weekday trains will run approximately every 70 minutes, and on weekends, trains will operate every 120 minutes. Fares will be within the MBTA's Zone 8 structure at $12.25 each way, with reduced fare of $6. Weekend rates are $10 for unlimited trips. Parking at the Fall River Depot will be $4 per day on weekdays and $2 on Saturdays and Sunday. Most comments at the public meeting were positive, although some residents on the train route expressed concerns.
And I know this is a great thing for just about everybody in this room, but nobody seems to be addressing the noise issue. I happen to live right on a crossing, so I'm going to get one train every 70 minutes all day long until the last one is going to be like at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's going to go by my house. Yeah, it's a little bittersweet for me. I get it. For a lot of people, this is a great thing. It's made my house unsellable.
Mr. Eng says the MBTA plans improvements to all service lines, highlighting the benefits of public mass transportation.
Sound, robust transportation system is about freedom to move. It's about giving people the ability to get out and about. I think with that is quality of life. The fact that I'm in the mass transportation business, it's exciting to be part of that options for the riders. Every day that we could get someone out of their cars is actually better for the environment, better for congestion. You know, when you hear about the concerns for more trains, think about if it was all truck traffic. Think about if we're moving goods and debris by trucks and or just single passenger cars. This really is the better option to go. What we need to do is continue to modernize our system. So as we get more robust service, is how do we actually get to that point where we are decarbonizing our system as well. But getting people out of their cars is number one priority. That in itself is helping us. And the next step is really building for the future.
The Diocese of Fall River has announced that St. Stanislaus School in Fall River will close at the end of the academic year. The pre-K through 8 school has been serving the community for over a century, yet a decline in enrollment and substantial debt has led to the decision. This year, only 68 students were enrolled at the school.
It really happened quite fast. You know, it wasn't so much a trend as a cliff, and it happened over the last couple of years as the school has worked to really tighten up its operations and set a positive course for the future. And unfortunately, in doing so, lost some enrollment. The prevailing feeling was sadness and then asking why. Why did this happen? How could this happen? You know, St. Stanislaus School and Parish have had a historic presence in the city of Fall River. So tremendous sense of loss and sadness that comes with that.
Mr. Roy says a meeting with parents and staff was held last night with options for parents to continue their families' faith-based education. Really
with a focus on the city of Fall River and the 4 schools of Holy Name, Holy Trinity, St. Michael's, and Espiritu Santo here in the city. You know, and I think that St. Stanislaus families will find that they have 4 strong options in those schools with 4 principals who stand ready to help however they can in facilitating the move for those families into those schools, which are really between 1 and 3 miles away from St. Stan's in the city.
Mr. Roy says St. Stanislaus had a particular problem with families struggling to pay tuition, which sits at $5,400 a year per student in grades K through 8 and $5,900 for preschool students.
The school really tries, as I think all of our Catholic schools do, you know, to balance mercy and justice, you know, and to say, look, you know, we'll work with you on different plans to make this feasible for you. But at the same time, we do expect accountability, and that's where the justice piece comes in hand. There is an option through the Foundation to Advance Catholic Education for scholarship money to become available. Some of the families at St. Stan's had taken advantage of that, and some had not taken advantage of that.
With over 5,000 students in diocesan schools from Attleboro through Cape Cod, Mr. Roy says the state of other Catholic schools remains strong.
Our processes at the Catholic Schools Office have been refined over the last couple of years to partner even more closely with our schools, particularly our elementary schools, in looking at data and examining opportunities and challenges around vitality for the future. We have a cycle of data reviews that we go through now with school leadership to really try to nip these problems in the bud as soon as possible. You know, in this case, you know, St. Stanislaus had a history and a long history of insurmountable challenges. And we did have willing partners at the local level. We worked very closely with them. We exhausted all options. I don't see a similar profile in another school right now.
Along with exploring options for St. Stanislaus families to transfer students to other schools, the diocese will also give priority consideration to the 15 employees at St. Stanislaus to fill open positions at other Catholic schools next year. This week, the Fall River School Committee voted to approve a limit on how many students in the city can receive their K-12 education through a Commonwealth of Massachusetts virtual school. School Superintendent Dr. Tracy Curley said 143 students, or 1.29% of the district's population, are enrolled this year in virtual schools. The state notifies districts once it reaches a threshold of 1% to consider action on imposing a cap. Dr. Curley did not recommend approving a cap, but laid out a scenario by which one could be implemented.
We certainly looked at this idea of 143 students being enrolled in a school outside of our district and kind of what the impact is on us. Now, I personally do not believe that if we told families that their students we couldn't enroll any more students in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts virtual schools, that they would return to the Fall River Public Schools. I believe those same families would homeschool their children. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know that there's any immediate benefit at all to limiting. If we had a virtual school option, K-12 for families, and we could in good faith say, sure, we're gonna limit it because we can offer you that same opportunity right here in the Fall River Public Schools, I would feel comfortable capping. I don't feel comfortable capping because we don't have that opportunity right now for families.
School committee member Kevin Aguiar said the state caps virtual school enrollment across the Commonwealth at 2%. His concern is that an increase in virtual students could impact educational funding if no cap is set. He argued in favor of imposing a 2% cap in Fall River as a fair compromise.
So by capping it at 2%, we are doing nothing at all to affect choice for parents and families. But what we are doing is saying that we're going to say public education in the classroom, in a school, is something that we value. And that we want to make sure that we're capping it so that we give some choice, but at the same time, we have to say there should be a number. That's the point of why this is. And as I said before, the union came before us. All of these unions came before us based on Chapter 70 money, how much we're going to get for our enrollment. For us to now say we're going to have voted on raises and increases based on something, but we're going to just leave this wide open, I think it's fiscally irresponsible. At 2%, we still have a number of students that can enter, but we would control what it is. Once we get to that point, if they're bursting at the seams, then we could revisit it the next year.
A majority of the committee voted in favor of Mr. Aguiar's proposal to set that 2% cap. School committee member Colin Dias has served on the panel for less than a year after filling a seat left vacant by the resignation of member Sarah Rodrigues. Mr. Dias has not been shy about making proposals on projects he feels will be a benefit to the district. He has a proposal before the committee to recognize Dr. Irving Fradkin, a former city optometrist who helped establish Dollars for Scholars, one of the country's largest grassroots scholarship programs. Mr. Dias' proposal is to rename the Stone Day School after Dr. Fradkin, but he's open to other ideas.
I think we need to go above and beyond for this individual. Especially, we've seen other renamings in recent years in the past that when you look at those and you look at Dr. Fradkin deserves to have a building named after him. I put in a proposal or petition that will go before a renaming committee that will do research. I think there's a few options here. One, we go with renaming Stone, which is what I put in the proposal. However, there should be more options, of course. We should expand the scope of that. For Dr. Fradkin, we can look into, again, renaming Stone. We could potentially name our unnamed admin building after him. We have a pre-K center that we just started that could be named after Dr. Fradkin, or the school committee could take a vote that places Dr. Fradkin's name first in the queue for any future school.
At this week's school committee meeting, it was noted that Dr. Fradkin has been honored through the naming of a library at Cuss Middle School and with a green in his memory at the intersection of President Avenue and Ellsbury Street. Mr. Dias is also proposing that the district create a position of government efficiency czar to advise the administration and school committee on ways to spend the district's funding more efficiently.
The school department, and you're going to see is going to be very tight on cash going the next few years, and we don't know what's going to happen with the federal government, and if there's going to be a shift. Fall River Public Schools relies heavily on federal aid, state aid, aid from our municipality, city of Fall River, and we don't know where that's going to go. So we need to look for any place that we can save money. And I'm going to continue to look for any possible way that we can. That's why I put the proposal. And going into this budget season, I'm going to be one member looking for any single way that we can, again, make cuts to the budget without affecting, again, the good, again, important and good learning in the classroom. I don't want to affect any school, children in the classrooms or affect anything in that regard. So.
What's happening in Fall River real estate and development news? Time for our weekly segment with Kevin Lawrence. He is the owner and publisher of Fall River Development News on Facebook, and he follows all this stuff and is gracious enough to share his information with us on a weekly basis. Kevin, how are you?
Very well. Glad to join you today, Keith.
All right, let's get started with news that just broke earlier this week about a new supermarket, sort of an ethnic supermarket that's going to be coming to Fall River soon.
Yes, we broke the news on Fall River Development News. Vincente Supermarket. It's a Brockton-based Cape Verdean-owned grocery chain. They already have several locations, one including New Bedford, which just opened up in 2024. They took over a Price Right location in New Bedford, and now they're coming to Fall River. They'll be moving into the Stafford Road location of the former Rite Aid store, which has been closed since April of 2024. So that's a big spot that they will be filling on Stafford Road. This is right adjacent to Plymouth Avenue. It's at 10 Stafford Road. It's a fairly large former Rite Aid location. I believe it's about 8,000 to 10,000 square feet. And they offer various foods, including Brazilian products. They're also a full-service supermarket, and they're known for their prepared meals as well. They have locations, like I said, in New Bedford, Brockton, and Pawtucket, Rhode Island. This will be their 5th location. They have 2 stores in Brockton, from what I understand.
Yeah. So good to see more diversity in terms of people's ability to shop for groceries here in Fall River.
And
all right, next up, we are going. Go ahead.
They did a beautiful job rehabbing the Price Right store in New Bedford. It's a gorgeous store. And from what I can see, their stores are very meticulously thought out, and they have a beautiful array of supermarket goods for people's pleasure to see.
There's no date specific in terms of an opening, or?
I was told by the end of 2025, by the end of this year, so they're going to have to do some serious renovations on that property. I was told by the end of this year by the broker who signed the lease with Vicente's Supermarket.
All right, heading up to the far north end of the city, there's been some space open at one of the plazas up there, and I believe nail salon will be taking up shop there soon.
This is the RK Plaza at 4171 North Main Street. The former Bank 5 location, which was shuttered last June, is going to be a nail salon. A Fairhaven business called Spider King Nails has leased out the spot. The name of the Fall River location will be called Spider Queen Nails. And according to a city-issued building permit, they'll be spending $150,000 doing the build-out inside that former Bank 5 branch location.
Yeah. So again, it's good to see, especially some of these locations that are not, that's somewhat near the traffic circle of Route 24, but it is still a little bit off the beaten path. But it's good how some of those empty storefronts are getting filled. So that's important. All right. Finally, this week, we are going to move to Pleasant Street. We had talked about the revitalization of that area. There was some state and federal money made available to revitalize some of those areas. Some of the storefronts have been done. Some of the facades have been done over the past few weeks. Finished, rather.
Yes, a total of 6 commercial storefronts that included Gilbert's Jewelers and Nellie's at 1370 and 1386 Pleasant Street have been redone, as well as the White Rose Bakery location at 1642 Pleasant Street. I believe you're showing the photos to your viewers right now. They did a nice job. The facade work included replacement of the existing storefront systems, installation of new masonry lighting, metal cornice and awnings work. The facade work at the White Rose Bakery totaled about $250,000 in community development agency funding. And the work at Gilbert's Jewelers and Nellie's, as well as a couple of other vacant storefronts, cost $365,000.
Yeah, so it's always good to see those improvements. Sometimes, the store owners themselves may not have the funds to do that, but it's good that the city can get involved in some way, shape, be it small, be it large, but to take advantage of some of that material. All right, we invite you to check out Kevin at Fall River Development News on Facebook for the latest real estate and development news. Kevin, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center. Lead Project Engineer, L3 Harris Technologies, located at 275 Marquine Street, seeks a full-time lead project engineer, responsible for overseeing and coordinating resources between the program managers and project team. Job number 221-29894. Cardiac Ultrasound Technician. St. Anne's Hospital, located at 795 Middle Street, is looking for a part-time cardiac ultrasound technician, responsible for operating special imaging equipment to assess patients before, during, and after medical heart and lung procedures. Job number 221-23406. Product Specialist, Rexel USA, located at 221 Weaver Street, is seeking a full-time product specialist, responsible for assisting outside sales to promote the company's products to potential customers. Job number 221-25144. Automotive Senior Technician, Firestone Complete Auto Care, located at 748 Pleasant Street, is looking for a full-time automotive senior technician. For more information, call 508-916-2057. Walgreens, located at 369 Plymouth Avenue, has an immediate need for the following full and part-time positions. Shift Lead, job number 221-25437. Inventory Specialist, job number 221-25434. For more information about these or other positions, visit Mass Hire JobQuest at jobquest.dcs.eol.mass.gov or call the Mass Hire Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. It's time again for city residents to participate in the annual municipal census, a task that is mandated and useful to Fall River.
At the start of every year, the cities and towns of the Commonwealth are required by law to update their street listing, also known as the annual municipal census. So every household should start to receive their municipal census forms in the mail beginning of last week. So I'm asking all residents to please review their census forms, make any changes as necessary, sign and date the form, and return it to the Elections Department as soon as possible so we can update your records for 2025. The benefits of doing so are so important for the city of Fall River. There was so much grant funding, financial benefits to the city. There was congressional appropriation that comes into the city of Fall River for our public schools, for police and fire, for veteran programs, for after-school programs for our children. So it's so important that you return your municipal census at the start of the calendar year. Directly here to my office on the 6th floor of Government Center, we have a drop box in the lobby of Government Center. We have 5 different supermarkets throughout the city: Shop Supermarket, Shaw Supermarket, Stop and Shop on Mariona Bishop Boulevard, Market Basket, as well as Seabra Supermarket over on Stafford Road. You can also email your census form directly to my email address, which is located on the back of your census form.
Mr. Lyon says even if residents have lived in the same household for many years, there may be a benefit to update specific information.
Somebody might have moved out of your residence, for example. You might want to update that information. If you have a child who went away to college, make sure that you have their information marked on your census form if they wish to retain residence in the city of Fall River. I did mention something about veterans. If you have a family member who is now serving in the armed forces, thank you for their service, but most importantly, make sure that you have their information maintained on your census form as well, so I can provide that information to the VSO. I provide him with the full extract of our veterans every calendar year. In addition to that, again, if you have a change of occupation, update that information on your census form. If somebody's passed away, please cross out their name and provide their date of death on your census form so we can update our voter registry as promptly as possible. In addition to that, I did enclose the vote by mail applications for the upcoming 2025 municipal elections. It's an option available to every registered voter. If you're interested in voting by mail this year, fill out the application, sign and date it, and return it with your municipal census.
Even though filling out the census does not automatically register a resident to vote, failure to do so may impact those registered their ability to vote this fall.
If I don't receive your census form returned by the first Monday in June, your name is going to be placed on the inactive voter list. And as in previous years, we normally end up with about 20,000 registered voters whose names are placed on the inactive voter list. So what that means, unfortunately, when you go to vote on Election Day, and this year the preliminary is on September 16th and the municipal election is on November 4th, before you're allowed to cast a ballot, you will have to provide proof of residency, proof of identification to the precinct warden and complete an affirmation of residency before you're allowed to cast a ballot. So to prevent all that from happening, please return your municipal census so we can update your residential records and you will not have any problems casting a ballot on Election Day.
We'll wrap up this edition of FRC Media News after this.
Welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. Today we have Sirius. He is a 1.5-year-old poodle mix. He's a medium to high energy dog, so he definitely loves to be active. We would definitely recommend him in a home that has a yard, or just for some active people who do like to just go out for hikes, jogs. He does seem to know some commands like sit, and isn't terrible on the leash if you will really work with him on it. He does look to you for guidance. He does love his walks and playtime, but he is also very affectionate. So once he settles down, he's like a big couch potato pretty much. He'll love to just sit on the couch with you or just hang out with you. We believe he's a really good family dog. He loves to be around people. It doesn't really matter the age, especially with kids and everything. He does seem to do really well with kids around every age. So if you'd like to come meet Sirius, come visit us at Forever Paws Animal Shelter, or you can visit our website at foreverpaws.com.
Today we have Cinder. Cinder is a 4-year-old brown tabby. She actually came to us as an owner surrender. Unfortunately, their previous owner could no longer continue to keep her. She's a healthy young lady. She's a little sassy. I would recommend no children for her, just because she does have that sassiness to her. So other cats, fine. Kids can be pretty active. When we come in here, she usually gets up, and she's one of the first ones up and to come over and say hello. You think that you'd potentially be a good fit for Cinder, or maybe if you're just entertaining the idea, you want to come down and meet her, or meet any of the other cats, dogs, small animals that we have here. We have plenty of small animals on the regular too. Yeah, you can give us a call, or just come on down. You can grab an application and meet them.
That's all for this week's edition of FRC Media News. Visit our website, frmedia.org, for more local news and information. You can catch FRC Media News Thursdays at 6 p.m. and Fridays at 5:30 p.m. on Channel 95 and Fall River HD, which is located on Channel 1072. We leave you this week with FRC Media's Kendall Furtado's look at the current art exhibit at the Grimshaw Goodowitz Art Gallery at Bristol Community College. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next Thursday.